Alright guys, let's go back with another vid for you. So the last two videos I covered were the survey stage, the letter of intent. Now both parties are in agreement with the letter of intent, and now it's trying to draft a lease. But before I go deeper into this video, guys, I want to give a disclaimer that I'm not a real estate attorney, not an attorney in general, not here to give legal advice, but I'm solely commenting on this from a standpoint of doing deals as a broker and also getting leases signed as a landlord myself. And so I want to make a quick, brief video on how this would work if you were doing an office lease in the state of California. So the two common ways that I've seen most often done in my career here in California have been, you can either use an AIR lease template, I'll talk about that, or you can go ahead and hire, as a landlord, a formal real estate attorney to draft your lease. It will be tailored very specific to your specific building, property, and it tends to be a little bit longer than using an AIR template. So now going back to AIR. AIR, CRE is the software company that I'm talking about. It's actually a company that's headquartered in Los Angeles. I'm going to be putting up some graphics up on the screen below. I'll also link in the description a link to their website. Again, guys, AIR CRE is a software company, and if you get the membership to their software, you can access a list of contracts. And again, most commercial real estate professionals, landlords, have a AIR CRE membership so that whenever it's time to draft a lease, you can basically just go into their list of templates. And again, in this case, you would go and grab a full service gross or a gross lease template and essentially begin inputting very easily all the terms or the general terms that both the landlord and tenant agree to in the letter of intent. So landlords and commercial real estate professionals like this because it can be a little bit more of an economical route to go ahead and draft a lease. Now again, you're still gonna have to pay for a membership, and again, I'll link that below, but it tends to be a little bit easier. I know some of the landlords that I represent here in Orange County like to go that route so that, you know, they feel comfortable, especially on some smaller deals, that they can go ahead and input the lease terms and churn out a template that then they can flip over to the tenant for review, and they don't necessarily feel the need to spend the extra dollars that it would to go hire a formal real estate legal attorney and have a very nice tailored lease. So this could save you some bucks. It's mostly done when it just depends on the property, the landlord. But either way, once it's flipped over to the tenant, right, that tenant could and should have their specific real estate legal counsel look over the document, even though it tends to be a very kind of basic lease that most of us commercial real estate professionals in Southern California use. Now, flipping over to the other side, again, I've also worked with large landlords, institutional type, and these are the ones, right, that are gonna have like 10 plus office buildings, industrial properties, or retail centers, right? Or just have a really large portfolio, a sizable portfolio, and then the route is to go hire a formal real estate legal attorney and have them curate a lease that would protect you. So those tend to be the two common ways that leases are drafted, and the types of methods that either landlords and tenants will use here in Southern California, specifically when it comes to office leases. Just a general comment, as not only a broker, but also, you know, as a landlord myself, my recommendation is anyone who's new to commercial real estate, investing, say you're a first-time commercial real estate landlord in whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to be an office. My recommendation is always go that extra route to have that peace of mind, right? Because a lease is a legal binding document. You want to make sure you're protected, not only if you're the landlord, but also the tenant as well. So this is why this specific stage within the CRE deal can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. Okay, it can also be the stage where a deal dies because if attorneys on both ends are redlining it excessively, unfortunately, sometimes you just don't reach an agreement and you have to walk away. But that's why us brokers are also in the mix, right? We're kind of there to shepherd both parties through. And what I've learned over the course of my career when it comes to, say, a difficult lease, right? where it's taking a few weeks. The other side's attorney is continuing to advise and just continuing to redline and reject our comments. We're on the landlord side say we're not willing to incorporate all those comments, right? We as brokers, it's our job to really, manage all the people involved in a deal. And sometimes it's like, hey, we can't encourage our side to accept something that's going to leave them open to liability or risk in the future. And I also usually understand when a tenant is kind of set on their ways of having certain language incorporated within a lease. So it's a very important stage within a commercial real estate deal cycle, right? Because you're essentially there to execute the deal is finalized, but you also want to be mindful of when it could potentially just be overkill. I will candidly say that there have been many instances when you get to a lease and the red lines can be a little bit more excessive, but again, right? Both parties are going to want to pursue a path of peace of mind. I've always had the blessing of working with landlords that usually tend to be very accommodating of the tenant's language. Our philosophy is like, hey, look, we won't completely strike out a section within a lease, but we're willing to add language that can give us a happy medium. So that was something I'd always encourage you. And something I've had the blessing of is seeing how early on in my career, working with landlords, kind of seeing the areas that they're willing to give on, the areas that they're willing to be very firm on, has actually really influenced how I go about and executing my leases as a landlord. So I think another benefit of being a commercial real estate broker is after you do hundreds and hundreds of leases and you see the way attorneys go back and forth with each other, you also get an idea of what specific sections within a lease are going to be redlined. And I'm going to talk more about that in another video. I'll make a video on what I have seen to be the most common sections within a lease that tend to get redlined, and I'll go deeper into that video later. But again, to recap, when we get to this stage in a CRE deal, specifically an office leasing example, you can either use a platform like AIR CRE, which is a software which makes downloading a lease template very easy and you can input it yourself and then flip it over to the other side for review, or you can hire a formal real estate attorney to draft it for you. And again, you always want to shop for a good attorney. Most real estate attorneys are pretty busy. I know you're going to want to shop around for price, but I've had the blessing of working with top-notch real estate legal professionals, and they do a good job. So don't be afraid to, spend the money if necessary, because at the end of the day, I'm a huge advocate for having peace of mind. And you want a strong lease that protects you in a situation where it could get sticky. So guys, hope you found that video helpful. Leave some comments. I would love some feedback, and don't be afraid to show some love. Hit that like and subscribe button. But I will make another video. And again, let's talk about on the next one what happens after the lease is executed. I'll see you on the next one.